And we are live. Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. First of all, this channel is proudly sponsored by Asilo. Asilo is a tabletop role playing game of clinical and psychological horror. You will find it in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly partnered with the What the Funk shop. Please check out their store for all sorts of products. They have dice, miniatures, game master screens, home decorations, and many other things. You will find the link in the description and in the pinned comment as well. And make sure that you use my code for a special discount. Uh, uh, uh. Oh, yes. A moment, please. It looks like finally, my video is ready. Welcome, Josh. Welcome. I was just uploading my review and thoughts on the Steam Build Riders actual play. Let's wait for a few more people to get here. In the meantime, I'm going to add the pinned comment. Let's see, where is it? Ah, okay, here it is. No, no, yes. Uh, uh, Let me check. So yes, Josh, in that review of Steam Build Riders, I also share my thoughts on the actual play and the further comments that other people made when it comes to our session. Mm-mm-mm. Let me place the comment. There we go. Aha, I would need I should promote that one in via some of the Discord servers that I belong to. But yes, today everyone, today we are ah let me close this Asilo, go away. Okay. Asilo, there we go. Today we are going to talk about a very special man, very tragic, a man with a great history and melancholy, great mirth and melancholy all the same. None other than Robert E. Howard. Robert E. Howard, the author, the creator of Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Conqueror, Conan the Thief, Conan the King. Conan was so many things, right? So many things. Let me close this window. We are closing the windows. I will promote it later. Okay, yeah. So Conan the Barbarian, such an incredible character in, and it could be one of the pillars for tabletop RPGs. Gary Gygax, like I said, Gary Gygax didn't know crap about roleplay, right? But when it comes to inspirational material, he knew his stuff. That's why you have Appendix N. And you have all of the other appendices that appear in many other tabletop RPGs. Many of them include Conan the Barbarian. By the way, I also discovered a super awesome solo Conan style, solo and cooperative Conan style of game. Let me give you the name of it. I just purchased it when it was on sale the other day. The publisher is Saucer. Let me check. Saucer Games. And the Clash of Steel Second Edition. I'm going to write it in the chat. Clash of Steel Second Edition. Clash of Steel Second Edition. If you want to play solo or cooperative Conan, that's the game. That's the game that you need. Clash of Steel Second Edition. But moving on, yeah. Robert E. Howard, incredibly gifted author, even more successful than Lovecraft in terms of money making, mostly because compared to Lovecraft's works, what do I have? Earphones. Compared to Lovecraft's the Conan stories compared to the mythos stories, they were easier to digest. It was easier to identify with a big angry barbarian, and Conan wasn't actually that big. Look here, I have my book. Really awesome book. Conan, the ultimate guide to the world's most savage barbarian. This is all about the art. If you love Conan art, in comic books, some of the art in the novels as well, the collection of short stories and whatnot, this is the book to get. Conan, the ultimate guide. I always forget the title. The ultimate guide to the world's most savage barbarian. Beautiful book, unapologetic, showing you how it was. Yes, indeed, Josh. It looks awesome. It is a beautiful book. I love it, and there are so many incredible scenes in this book. But yes, moving on. A lot of people are familiar with Conan, mostly because of the Schwarzenegger films. The Schwarzenegger films are not the most accurate. Conan, let me find the right illustration, wasn't particularly tall. He was tall, but not the tallest. He was strong, but not the strong. That is, he was the strongest in terms of potency, but he was not super bulky. Josh speaks. That lady did not have a lot of clothes on. Gasp. Uh-huh. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh my. But yes, mm, Conan was not exactly the Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger looked like the Germanic version of Conan, even though I do not like Schwarzenegger. I think he did a great job in expressing the his particular version of Conan. I can't find the. I'm going to show you an illustration of how Conan would look more or less when fighting um, warriors more on the Nordic side, because Conan is of a more Celtic origin. Conan was usually compared to a panther, and many of these things will make sense when we talk about Robert E. Howard. Mm-mm. And who exactly was Robert E. Howard? An incredibly gifted author that was not understood by anyone, especially himself. Here we go. Conan. Although I think those two, they're supposed to be representing the frost giants. The frost giants. Because in this particular adventure, Conan, well, he saw a beautiful woman in the snow, and Conan, being a manly man, well, he started chasing after her. You see a beautiful woman in the snow, you're half starving, cold, perhaps in risk of dying, and you see a beautiful woman in the snow, well, maybe you let your instincts take over a bit and you suddenly are like, hey, come here, baby, come here. And so, but she was the daughter of the frost giant king. And the frost giant bodyguards, they decided to attack Conan. There is another illustration showing you the here they are, and there were two of them. Conan versus two frost giants, and he still won. That's the sort of man Conan was. The barbarian that never existed, but it is all too real nonetheless. So let's continue talking about Robert E. Howard. Poor Robert E. Howard. So intelligent, so smart, so imaginative, crippled. That is how I met Sarah, by the way. What? Really? In the snow? Did Sarah walking in the snow and you went Conan, Josh? Or tell us about that story, Josh. We need to hear that story. Roger, welcome. My favorite interpretation of a villain in Conan's world is James Earl Jones as Thulsa Doom. Thulsa Doom. And funny enough, Thulsa Doom never fought Conan. In the original Robert E. Howard stories, Thulsa Doom never, ever fought Conan. Thulsa Doom is a villain from Sonia, Red Sonia, another exquisite sword and sorcery character, Red Sonia. But yes, Robert E. Howard was crippled by two main things, two nefarious elements. One, being in the most awful community that someone could live in. We are talking 1900s, early 1900s. Now, a lot of you that are a 3 digit of IQ and have done their research, maybe you are very intelligent, but you haven't done your research, right? But for those of you that do not trust the mainstream, you know that around the 1900s, certain groups had already taken, in science fiction, YouTube, this is science fiction, had already taken over the US. The land of the free was no more. In science fiction, YouTube, we believe the mainstream, we trust all the mainstream, we are docile. Certain groups had already taken over the US, the land of the free, no more, the all American hero, gone, gone. Now you have people trying to survive, to survive the hostile takeover of science fiction, right? Okay, moving on, talking about science fiction. Because of that, Robert D. Howard felt completely out of place. Mm, he was born on January 22, 1906, in the fading little ex-cow town of Pister, Texas, in Parker County. But he did not reside there for long. His family was constantly moving about. His father was a doctor, and his mother was constantly sick. His the poor woman, although she doesn't have my sympathies, I'm just like expressing a bit of concern for the situation. But the woman was already marked. She wasn't long for this world. Eventually, they settled in within the Cross Plains. Cross Plains, a small town. This was in the 1920s. Approximately 2,000 people lived there, according to official data. And the people in Cross Plains, imagine the stereotypes of rednecks and hillbillies. The most awful, disgusting, exasperating examples of rednecks and hillbillies. Now, Robert E. Howard, he was a scholar, an erudite, very intelligent guy, very intelligent. Do you think he would be able to strike a conversation about ancient civilizations, about mysteries, uncovering the truth of various bloodlines, creatures that are not human? How do you think that average, pretty much the standard OSR type of people, right? And now, those of you that like OSR role playing games, you know I am speaking the truth. Don't get me that, oh, you're attacked. If you feel attacked by this, then you belong to that group. You belong to that stereotype. You know, you have seen them. You have seen the king of the hill type of guys, fat, bald, with eye problems that are put asleep by religion, by politics, that never want to go outside of the normal, of what is considered the normal, because then they are getting attacked. Imagine trying to strike a conversation with that sort of individual about fantasy. What's that? That's the work of the devil, you know? No, better accent. No, that's the work of the devil. What would you say? So poor Robert E. Howard had no one to talk to, not a single friend. In fact, he was getting attacked by his friends constantly, to the point that he once told his father, let's see if I can find the quote. Mm-mm-mm. The exact quote. Uh, 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 uh. Hmm. Well, I can't find the exact quote, but to give you like an idea, he told his father that he wanted to build his body to become so strong so that he could take anyone who betrayed him and crush him with his bare hands. And later on, he did. Later on, Robert E. Howard took this weight program, this fitness program. I don't know exactly who was his teacher, or if he read it in a magazine or in a book, or he was trained, but he built quite the body. Before that, he was very sick. He actually fainted when he was very young while working on the under the Texan sun. He fainted too much. That's why I always tell people build tolerance. Go out into the sunlight. Um, YouTube gets touchy about these things. The sun is perfectly healthy. In science fiction, if someone were to suffer something because of the sun in science fiction, I would recommend that within that science fiction setting, they do a bit of research on the things that they put on their bodies to protect them from the sun. Take a look at the substances, and you will see that it was not the sun in science fiction that was causing that. It was that thing. Covers the pores. Oh, I can't breathe. The chemicals seep into the pores. Voila. Take it from a white Mexican who has spent hours under the blazing Mexican sun. Hours. Nothing wrong with me. So, poor Robert E. Howard, such an environment. Nobody understood him. Other factor against him. A lot of people want to point out the mother, and we will get into the mother why. But it is actually Robert E. Howard's father who was to blame. The mother, of course, the mother certainly 100, that is absolutely correct. But a strong father would identify the sickening relationship that is being built between mother and son and would put a stop to it. The fucking old man was so passive. He watched his own son's downfall and he didn't take action whatsoever. Not only that, we will get into that. Oh, Josh, favorite line in the stream, nothing wrong with me. Exactly, exactly. And I always use myself as an example. Like I said, I mentioned this in one of my videos. Funny thing, there was this video saying, "Look, all the pagans are sick. Look," and I entered the video. Okay, I've been a vegan for 17 years. Ask me if I'm sick. And then this guy entered and, oh, well, that's why you go to the bathroom so many times a day. And I was like, what? What? I only go once to the bathroom, just once a day. And he was like, oh, well, I only go once, once every 3 or 4 days. And I was like, that's actually constipation. Take a look at it. The bacteria is literally fermenting inside of your gut. You are literally full of shit. And he was like, no, no, no. I was like, I can show you my picture. Take a look at my channel. You can see my face. Show me your face. Show me your body. Show me your body. Come on. I want. You probably look like Jabba the Hutt. Show me your body. Never showed me his picture. So yeah, that's the sort of the clown world. We're living in clown world. So moving on. Robert E. Howard didn't want to go to school because they knew they were teaching him crap. But his father told him, if you at least get this college education, this, I don't remember the exact degree, was it like something related to, it was not accounting, it was along those lines. But he had to take a bit of college education just to satisfy his father, while he started to write, working the pulps. And out of all of the pulp writers, those that wrote for the pulp magazines, Weird Tales, out of all of them, he was one of the most, if not the most prolific writer. One of the most prolific writers, if not the most prolific writer. His stories were, many of you know, guttural, visceral. They were visceral. He didn't hold anything back. One of my favorite lines of Conan that appears in the movie, The Whole Wide World, it is actually available here in YouTube for free because I think it is past that point where it is considered like, um, how do you call it? Community available to everyone. I remember the name, but here it is a whole wide world film. That film is based on the book by Nobel Prize, his um, tempestuous love. Never, never came to be fully. This is the movie A Whole Wide World. You will see it in the chat window. A Whole Wide World. Everything you need to know about Robert E. Howard is in that movie. Well, the summarized version. The summarized version. It is based on the book by Nobel Prize, who used to be the girlfriend of Robert E. Howard, but it was not to be, and we will delve deeper into that. Robert E. Howard never really associated with people because they lack that intelligence in his community, that imagination. And then along came Nobel Prize, a teacher and aspiring writer that came from outside Cross Plains. She was not from ye old backwater town. She was of greater intelligence and imagination. Sadly, a lot of the details we have of Robert E. Howard, many of them, not all of them, but many of them concerning his private life, his emotional states, his mental state even, it comes from Nobel Prize. But it's a he said, she said situation. It's obvious that Nobel Prize, many of the situations that she reveals through her book, The Man Who Walked Alone, I think that's the name, The Man Who Walked Alone, they are skewed, they are biased towards her own perception of things. Still, it's really worth it to watch the film. I've never read the book. I know what I know about Robert E. Howard, not only because I talked to other people, but because of the two books. This one, the complete collection of the Conan stories, complete Chronicles of Conan, what, the centenary edition, the centenary edition. And look, a quote by Stephen King. Howard was the Thomas Wolfe of fantasy, and most of his Conan tales seem to almost fall over themselves in their need to get out. Stephen King himself wrote that, said that. I also know it from this biography, The Savage Tales of Solomon Kane, because that's another one of his characters. Solomon Kane, the Puritan Avenger, I would call him. Solomon Kane is all about being obsessed with evil and hunting evil wherever it is. Solomon Kane has no reason not to hunt evil. If you are evil and Solomon Kane gets you in his sights, it's game over for you. It's game over, man. He's going to hunt you down like a hound of Tindalos. One of his enemies went to Africa, went from Europe to Africa in order to escape Solomon Kane. And Solomon Kane still chased him down. And when he encountered the villain in in an African village, the villain, which was a pirate of sorts, he was like, "Why go to this length? What did I ever do to you? What? Why? You know, why are you chasing me?" And Solomon Kane said something like, "Because it is my destiny to hunt down villains such as you." Part of the mentality of Robert E. Howard is revealed through Solomon Kane. Cross Plains was also the home of many scumbags, all sorts of corrupt individuals, not only in politics, even on the in the lower strata, the lower stratum of society. So much corruption. Other things that helped Robert E. Howard to further develop not only his writing but his understanding of life was boxing, honest boxing without the science fiction YouTube, without substances, without certain enhancements. You know, the sorts of enhancements that you have to actually take a plastic dick and fill it with someone else's urine to fake the test. That was honest boxing back in the day. And Robert E. Howard became pretty decent. He was far from being the best, but he became fascinated with boxing. And that serves to further inspire his stories. Conan was pretty much unbeatable in combat. You could say that Conan, in a sense, was an idolized version for Robert E. Howard, an example he created for himself, perhaps. Now, back to the romance, the tempestuous romance between Robert E. Howard and Evelyn Price. Robert E. Howard had a very pathological relationship with his mother. It bordered on it almost looked like a relationship. And that happens, that always happens when you have a weak father figure, because the strong father figure, he really teaches you how to stand alone, how to become an individual thinker, aggressive, violent, under your control. The problem in science fiction YouTube, the problem is not violence itself, but understanding how to use that violence in science fiction. We're talking science fiction. Robert E. Howard lacked that strong father figure. Maybe that's why he went into boxing. Maybe that's why he learned all those stories about the Indian braves. Let's see, Roger speaks. There's always three sides to every story, side A, side B, and the truth always is in the middle. Exactly. Exactly. So Robert E. Howard's understanding of masculinity was really good in some ways and really bad in some others. When it comes to his courting of Evelyn Price, she actually was the girlfriend of one of his friends. The I don't know why he did that. I guess the friend had Evelyn Price as a girlfriend just to keep appearances. You know, some people do not consider yourself like you have a proper image unless you have a girl by your side, at least by those times. So the friend, maybe that's why he was the boyfriend of Evelyn Price, and he presented Evelyn Price to Robert E. Howard. But from that moment on, there was like this spark. Neither of them could truly forget the other. And the novel in Price, which funny enough reminds me of the way that Lovecraft's wife, Sonia, also approached him. There are some disturbing parallelisms when it comes to Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard. And it is no wonder why they ended up as such good friends, even though they never met face to face. What a tragedy! What sadness! They never met face to face. All their exchanges were via correspondence. Probably the most two intelligent men in their lifetimes, in their times, but never fully in control of their emotions. And both had a terrible childhood. So many parallelisms. Both had a terrible relationship with their mothers, although Lovecraft was more of a, yeah, no, it was a bit similar, but he never fully developed that further as his mother died pretty early on. They connected. Putting that aside, uh, Robert E. Howard got along great with Novelyn Price, but every single time she went, she was constantly calling to his house. She was visiting. She actually decided to visit Robert E. Howard. And of course, this contains spoilers for the movie, but you could say they contain spoilers for Robert E. Howard's life, right? Because that's pretty much it. She went to his house because every single time she called to see if Robert E. Howard was available, his mother would say, "Oh, he's unavailable. He went on a trip. He's busy. He's working." The mother wanted to keep Novelyn Price away, like some sort of jealous girlfriend. Sickening. That mother wasn't thinking about the future of her own son. That woman was about to die, and she was not thinking that she was going to die and his son was going to be all alone and completely tethered to her, and didn't want him to have a healthy relationship with an intelligent woman. How sad, isn't it? So, Novelyn Price, what a woman! What a woman! She didn't look like very cute. Robert T. Howard wasn't exactly the most handsome man either, but suffice to say, she went to his house and didn't leave until she saw Robert E. Howard. His father also, he opened the door and was also quite dismissive. Like the father opened the door and he was like, he asked the mother, is Robert available? And the mother, no, no, he's working. Yeah, he's working. So those fucking parents didn't care anything about Robert E. Howard. How could Robert E. Howard grow up without psychological issues if he had a mother that constantly treated him as if they were in some sort of romantic relationship? Quite sickening, if you ask me. A father that didn't care to show his son the ways of manhood, of not taking shit from anyone, letting Robert E. Howard try to find his own way through legends, mythology, sometimes history, sometimes his own imagination. And he also had his teenage years and adult years in Cross Plains. So, like I said, he started life with the highest difficulty setting. Well, not the highest, right? There are still even worse. But let's say instead of ultra nightmare mode, he started like in nightmare, no? So Robert E. Howard finally got along with Novelyn Price. And it is through Novelyn Price that we see the most brilliant aspects of Robert E. Howard and the not so brilliant sides. We are all human after all. We're not perfect. Robert E. Howard, I believe that he had Irish seers in his ancestors, in his family bloodline. You know, the seers are the ones from Irish culture, the ones that have the second sight, that they can look and see the past, the future, or even invisible things in the present, spiritual entities. Robert E. Howard used to look into the forest and told Novelyn Price, I can see the warriors fighting. and the horrible beasts lurking within the forest, and right. And Nobel in Price was like, I don't see anything. I don't see anything. And Robert T. Howard would tell her, "You're not looking hard enough." Let me give you a little example. We're going to take away the volume in order not to get like a copyright strike. I don't think we will. So I'm just going to show you the image. My lunch break. We really need to learn how to see with eyes unclouded. There we go. Mute. Okay, okay. I'm going to share this screen with you. Let's share the screen. Share the screen. Share Here Be Dragons video. So we have the Here Be. Oh well, yeah, yeah. That shape looks a bit suspicious, right? Very, very suspicious. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. But that's not what I wanted to show you. I want to like to blow your minds out immediately. Oh, look. Have you ever seen the old flags? Look. What do we have here? Look at this flag over here. Can you read the name of the country? Look at, oh, here's Japan. And here's Mexico, my country, Mexico. Look at the flag. And look at the US flag. This was just at the moment when certain groups took over in science fiction. In science fiction. Looks like a giant beaker claw. Now, alligators enter a state of dormancy called brumation during the winter months to survive cold environments, similar to how many mammals hibernate. Brumation is a physical reaction to environmental stress, such as cold temperatures and lack of food. Do you see the creature leaves the nose out in order to breathe, right? Needs to breathe. That photo, yes, I know, Roger. Yes, 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 yes. But let's take a look at the tip of South America. And look, why does the zodiac, the Chinese zodiac, they have so many animals, right? Tiger, rabbit, snake, horse, pretty common stuff. Dragon, dragon. Why do they have a dragon with amongst all of those normal animals? Let's take a look at the dictionary. Dictionary from the 1900s, I think. Dragon, now rare. Dragon, now rare. Now rare. Let's go to South America. Have you noticed that it is very suspicious, this part here in South America? Very, very suspicious. Like the mouth of a crocodile. And why did they Photoshop? Why did they use computer programs to add a few little islands? This is Photoshop. This is Photoshop. This does not exist in science fiction YouTube. So why are they trying to cover up the nostrils? Right? Very, very weird. Like, okay, so you have this formation down here. Why do they want to block the nostrils of this strange formation? Very suspicious. Very. Very suspicious, super suspicious, right? Moving on. Robert D. Howard. Let's see. Mankind has told stories of dragons as long as I can remember. And it used to be a profession. There were professional dragon slayers. Why would they have professional dragon slayers? Right? Points to something. But moving on. Robert E. Howard, he was able to see what others could not. And Nobel in Christ told him, I can't see anything. And he told her, you're not looking hard enough. So Robert E. Howard created this incredible story, so vivid to the point that you would think that Robert E. Howard was actually looking at things happening. It was actually happening because like he was actually seeing the scene unfold before him. That's why the Conan stories are so incredible because he was actually looking at those scenes. Perhaps not perfectly, right? Perhaps like a mix of his imagination with an interpretation of what he saw with some other more subtle things that he was actually able to perceive. But the negative side was that Robert E. Howard, throughout his entire life, he was never accepted by the society of Cross Plains. They saw him as a madman. He's completely nuts. They saw Robert E. Howard. They show this in the movie, walking down the street, practicing boxing. Like, just walking and working those jabs, the uppercut, the cross. And they would think, oh, he's crazy. They wouldn't think, oh, look, there's Robert E. Howard imagining the next book he's going to write about boxing. The boxing character, what was his name? Steve Costigan. Costigan? Steve Costigan. I think that's the name of the character. Let me look for it online. Steve Costi Costigan. Steve Costigan, prize fighter. One of his other characters, a sailor and a boxer. I haven't read any of his books, and they say they are pretty of his stories. The stories that Robert E. Howard wrote, featuring Steve Costigan. They say they are really good. You should check them out. So yes, his community was also very Puritan. A lot of people complain about the wokesters. I complain about the wokesters, but I also complain about the conservatives. I complain about religion, about being prude, about all of that. All of that, fuck it. Fuck it. The science fiction YouTube. So, oh no, Robert E. Howard, he is showing painting images of half naked men and women through his stories. He is showing us these sorts of situations where men are strong and violent and brave, and women sometimes, well, because they are not exactly built exactly like men, even though we have who knows how many proof, how many videos, how many research, how many everything that men and women develop considerably different. That's why in a certain event that happened last year, was it? Yeah, when certain boxing match happened between two individuals. Remember when a woman boxed with a guy that identified as a woman, even though he was born with XY chromosomes, and yeah, you know how she ended, right? How it ended up, and it always happens. It always happens because those sports in boxing, mixed martial arts, the sport version of mixed martial art. Welcome, Vic. Welcome. They are made to exactly, Josh. They are made to test your endurance. For the same reason that I wouldn't get into the cage or the ring with a guy twice my size, because you are not allowed to strike any of the vital areas. No neck, no liver or kidney punches. Well, no, they actually you can sneak in some, in depending on the match, right? Some, not liver, not kidney, but the liver is a favorite spot. No breaking of the bones, no attacking the knees, no, not breaking the pelvic area, no knuckle hits in very precise points, no strangulation, many of the things that would usually give you the advantage in a real life confrontation, they are disallowed in sports for a reason, for two reasons. One, the opponents shouldn't kill each other because they are in a sport. It's not a battle of life and death. Second reason, the matches will be over in seconds. If you were to allow everything in a fight, in a cage fight or a boxing ring fight, the battles, oof, in seconds, in a matter of seconds. So pitting a woman against a man in those, under those conditions, under those circumstances, the woman is at a complete disadvantage. Just like I said, just like I would if I would ever to put me against a guy like he's twice my size in a sports confrontation. Outside of sports, he would have no chance against me. I can tell you that from experience. But in a sports, no, no way, no, no, no thanks. So Robert E. Howard wrote about those uncomfortable truths, those very uncomfortable truths. People didn't like him because of that. And you can see in the film, I was just telling Josh, there is a very funny moment when Robert E. Howard is sitting at a table having dinner with his girlfriend, Noveline Price, and the people around them are gossiping, pointing at him, like laughing. So he started, yeah, so Conan, he decapitated, who knows, and he started to talk real loud, and he took that woman into his trunk tree, firm arms, and like he started. So that's really funny, but you can see the pressure. Imagine having that all the time. And that's because Robert E. Howard, like I said, his relationship with his mother, he became completely dependent, almost like an appendix of the mother, almost like attached to the mother. Wouldn't leave her side. He would cancel dates with Nobel Prize because his mother was constantly sick. Okay, you would say that's pretty heartless, right? If he were to go out on a date when his mother was sick, multiple people told him, hire a nurse, hire a nurse. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. Nobel Prize in the film, they actually show you this scene. And once again, it could be a case of he said, she said, but Robert E. Howard was driving. They had just kissed passionately, and maybe they did something else. We'll never know. In their picnic, during their picnic, and she reached out and placed her hand on top of Robert E. Howard's hand in a gesture of love, of I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Like putting the sexual attraction aside, it was a gesture of I want to be with you. And he removed his hand and said, the path I walk alone. The path I walk alone. Such a contradiction because, Robert, you were not walking alone. You were constantly attached to your mother. What the fuck are you saying? Instead of becoming like permanently attached to your mother, why didn't you accept the love of Nobel in Price? They were perfect for each other, I would say. Except the only thing that they needed to overcome. Nobel in Price was a bit of a social butterfly. She wanted to be at all of the important events, all of the balls, all of the parties. But Robert, he didn't like that. Why would you hang out with a bunch of fools that didn't like you? Why would you like to hang out with a bunch of fools that didn't like you? There is a popular story here in Mexico. They said that one time there was this man that had lots of friends. He was surrounded with friends, always the socialite. And eventually he got sick, of course, and he was in his deathbed. And his best friend was there, the old man in his dying bed. He called his best friend, "Come closer. I want to tell you something before I die." The best friend approached him, and the old man whispered, "No te juntes con pendejos." In English, don't hang out with assholes, or with imbeciles, rather. Don't hang out with imbeciles. And then he passed away. So, yes, in that case, I think that's the fault of Noveline Price, because she was mostly doing it for the status, to advance, to be seen as proper, prim and proper by the other people. And that also put a dent on the relationship. I still think that if Robert E. Howard had separated from his mother, they would have they would have been able to overcome that, either by Robert E. Howard stomaching some of the awful parties, or Novelin Price just trying not to chase that too much. In fact, I would say it was pretty useless. She later on had to leave Cross Plains. She didn't even stay there the rest of her life. She went to live somewhere else. So all of the status built there, down the drain, down the drain. Robert E. Howard. Let's see. Roger has something to say. Status in worldly endeavors is meaningless in the grave. Exactly. You never. Well, it is debatable in some way, but you don't take most of the things with you. You don't take most of the things. So all of your status, was it actually worth it? You have to ask yourself that. And right now that many people are rejecting many things related to politics and religion, now all of those people that constantly were pushing the agenda, be it from the right or from the left, we will always remember them as the fools that bent, that were never strong, that took a knee, bent the knee in front of their masters. That's what I like about my channel. It draws free thinkers. And those that are not free thinkers usually leave the channel soon enough. So we only have a good exchange of ideas here. So Robert E. Howard, such sadness, such sadness. Later on, you can see that Robert, for whatever reason, he starts to consider the possibility of unaliving himself, because his mother was soon to leave this mortal coil. And I thought, Robert, what the fuck? What the fuck, Robert? You have a woman more or less on your level of intelligence, of imagination, of beauty, because, like I said, neither of them was like the most beautiful man or woman. You are the most prolific. Some would say, some actually called him, including Nobel Prize, the greatest pulp writer in the whole wide world. That's why the movie is called The Whole Wide World. Now, Lovecraft, I would say Lovecraft was on his level, but Lovecraft wasn't as successful in terms of money, sadly. So if you were like to match them overall, Robert E. Howard will have the upper hand in terms of money. But Robert E. Howard actually looked at Lovecraft as a sort of mentor for the most of his life. Robert E. Howard considered H.P. Lovecraft a bit like a mentor, except later on, when he was very experienced in writing, he actually had debates with Lovecraft, and both enjoyed the exchange. discussing the merits and disadvantages of civilization and barbarism. But yes, Robert E. Howard had his life set, even though he had all of those ignorant hicks, those stereotypes of hillbillies, hicks, and rednecks, even though you had all of them attacking him on a daily basis, he was so successful. Girlfriend, money, health, healthy. He had money, love, and health. Money, love, and health. Money, love, and health. Those are the three pillars. It is such a stupid thing to throw them away. And all because later on, his mother fell into a coma. She wouldn't wake up. And the nurse told Robert that she thought his mother would never wake up. Ooh. And so Robert E. Howard started to make preparations, started to ask a doctor that was a friend of his father if someone could survive a bullet through the temple just over the ear. And the doctor told him no, no one will be able to survive that. So Robert E. Howard took the decision of unaliving, of committing unaliving, unaliving himself. Now here, I also thought, Robert, what the fuck? Even though things had already crashed down between him and Nobel Price, she couldn't stand his relationship with his mother. She didn't like it that Robert E. Howard was not a socialite. So things didn't work out. Okay, things were horrible with her, right? So long, Novelin. Too bad things didn't work out. There are so many other people out there, Robert. It's difficult. The more unique, the more intelligent that you are, the harder it is for you to find someone. Because if you go looking for a relationship, oh, this woman is perfect, but she trusts the mainstream. This woman is perfect, but she believes certain poisonous things, right? That I cannot mention here in YouTube. She believes certain poisonous things. Oh, that woman is perfect, but she's religious. That woman is perfect, but she's woke. So imagine just putting things, taking our context and putting it into Robert's own context in the 1920s. You can see the despair. But Robert, don't you have an entire circle of people that admire you, starting with H.P. Lovecraft? Don't you fucking think that it is such an amazing thing that people are constantly visiting you from the circle of pulp authors? Many of the pulp authors admired Robert E. Howard. Some of them, at least one that I know, visited him with his wife, and he was constantly exchanging letters with others. Robert, you have friends, Robert. How could you do this to them? H.P. Lovecraft even wrote a very wow. Oof. Give me a few moments, seriously. Wow. In Memoriam of Robert Irving Howard by H.P. Lovecraft. Wow, I am telling you. Oh, fuck. I'm getting tears out of my eyes. I'm not joking. Oof. The sudden and unexpected death on June 11, 1936, of Robert Irving Howard, author of fantastic tales of incomparable vividness, Farms, weird fictions, worst lost since the passing of Henry S. Whitehead 4 years ago. Mr. Howard's poetry, weird, warlike, and adventurous, was no less notable than his prose. It is super saddening. Right now, I, I can't read the. I swear, if I read the whole thing, I'm going to cry like a baby. Manly tears, like Fist of the North Star, like Kenshiro. You know the anime tears that are streaming right now. I'm not faking this. Why didn't he think? Why didn't he think about his friends? The woman that did the illustrations for the Conan books, the pulp magazines, rather the pulp magazines, she couldn't stop crying when she heard about Rob's unaliving. Um, Even the bastard from Weird Tales, what was his name? Fangsworth, right? Fangsworth, right? He was a fucking bastard. He didn't pay his writers, or if he paid you several months later. And he was also crying his heart out when he heard about Robert E. Howard committing the unaliving. So yes, and then I simply cannot forgive that. I cannot forgive Robert E. Howard for doing that. He had so much to give, not only in his craft, in his writing, but to other people as a human connection, in terms of a human connection. At least three people that I remember correctly, three people also told me that they were very angry with Robert because he could have done so many other things and he had his life set up. You have no fucking. This is science fiction, YouTube, and this is my opinion. This is science fiction, and this is my opinion. You have absolutely no right in getting sad. I was going to use the certain depre. You have no right on getting sad. You have no right whatsoever. If you have money, health, and love. So yes, the sad tale of Robert E. Howard. He gave us incredible works. Incredible works. Conan the Barbarian, Solomon Kane. He was the cornerstone for everything that we know as sword and sorcery. How many barbarians and evil sorcerers have you seen in tabletop role playing games, in video games, in movies, in comic books, even in anime and manga? Even in anime and manga, you find those archetypes. How many of them have you seen that do not owe something to Robert E. Howard, including horror? Including horror. His contributions were incredible, were magnificent. He had so much to give. Imagine a different timeline, an alternative reality where Robert E. Howard, well, let's say that he didn't marry Nobel in Prize. Let's say he remained single for whatever reason, but he still kept on eating, enjoying good food, laughing with his friends, writing, reading. How many things, how many books, how many stories, how many masterpieces he would have created if only he would have survived that mental and emotional state. So the sad tale of Robert E. Howard. Oof. Does any one of you have any further thoughts on this man, uh, positive or negative? Because, like I said, this is a community of free thinkers. This is not, oh no, it is forbidden in this channel to express what you think. Unless, like what you say, for example, you start to promote certain things to get people unalived. Yeah, what the fuck, right? But here we take a look at the perspective of things. We analyze. We apply the scientific method. Put things to the test. We just don't dismiss things. So it is funny sad and funny at the same time that Conan was the sort of man that Robert E. Howard couldn't become. Appropriate, perhaps. Another thing he shares with Lovecraft. Lovecraft used to say, what was it exactly? This is not the exact quote, but it went along the lines of, I am a brother of the frosts and son of the auroras. I am a Viking that eats the brains out of his foes' skulls or something, like very. But Lovecraft, as you know, he was not very athletic, and he was passing out whenever he got too cold. I actually identified the condition that Lovecraft was suffering the other day. I forget the name, but it's something related to the minor changes in temperature towards the cold. It causes you to faint. Josh speaks. Hard to follow up with anything else. If only he was as strong as Conan in those days. Exactly, exactly. And that's a terrible comparison that one of his family's friends made. He said, if only Robert was as strong as his father, because his father kept on living. His father was a fucking NPC. He saw, being a doctor, he saw his own wife decay, and his son become obsessed with his mother, with his wife, with his own wife. He saw his own son become obsessed with that mother figure, and he didn't do crap. He didn't do anything. Slap. What the fuck is wrong with you, boy? Slap. You have the love of a beautiful woman. Slap. You have money. Slap. Why the fuck are you basing your entire existence on that woman? You shouldn't be having a romantic relationship with your mother. You should be having a romantic relationship with a woman that thinks like you, that you connect with, that you find really hot. So yes, Josh, I think you said it much better. If only he was as strong as Conan in those days. Do you think do you think that fucking Conan gets depressed every single time he saw who knows how many people die during his adventures and misadventures? He also experienced many defeats. He was take a look at this. Take a look at this. Where are you? Where are you? Where's the right image? Mm-mm-mm. Where's the correct image of Conan surviving terrible hardships? Ah, here it is. Here it is. Um, can I get it into? Ah, okay, okay. When Conan suffered one of his misadventures, he was nailed to a wooden structure, and the buzzards started to try to eat him. They saw him as easy prey, and he was biting the buzzards. He was still wanting to stay alive. He was so desperate to stay alive, despite being in a helpless situation, that he was actually attacking the carrion birds with his own mouth. A villain actually rescued him because the villain wanted to Conan to serve him as his hireling, as his henchman, as his servant, pretty much a servant. So, in true Conan fashion, Conan waited for the right moment. Mm-mm. Well, it's going to take a while to find that illustration. And he broke the legs of the man who rescued him because Conan did not was not he did not want to be rescued to serve as some sort of lackey. So many simps nowadays. They are so far removed from Conan. Those that are constantly worshipping someone else, constantly worshipping politicians, religious figures in science fiction, worshipping e-celebs, worshipping gods. Perfect illustration of resilience. Exactly. Okay, okay, okay. I'm going to show you. Ah, I'm going to risk demonetizing this video, but I really need to show you this. I don't think they will demonetize. YouTube, this is for illustrational purposes only. Do not demonetize the video. Robert E. Howard about Conan. This is a scene from the film. He's talking with Novelin Price. YouTube, this is for informational purposes only. I do not own the clip in this video. This movie is available for everyone. Let's say Roger speaks. Conan's world was either conquer or be conquered. It was that simple. And the truth is that Conan's world is our world. Conan's world is our world. So take a look at this scene. Here we go.
Why don't you tell me about your character, Conan?
Conan! Conan is the damnedest bastard there ever was. He's got a long black mane of hair, crystal blue eyes. He's a fighter, born on the battlefield. To him, combat's a way of life. It's all he's ever known, all he ever wants to know!
Now just a pause. Robert E. Howard, we can clearly see that he's talking about himself too, growing in cross planes. That's all he has ever known. And in order to tolerate that horrible experience, that's all he ever wants to know. As if he's accepting that the world is always going to look at him as some sort of pariah, as a weirdo, as the crazy guy. Let's continue.
He's no soldier who was taught to fight. To him, fight is an instinct. It's a opponent! Like his legs, his arms, his chest, his bull neck. Believe me, he don't take it from nobody. He'll fight man, beast, devil, or God.
That's a real man. You don't take it from anyone. You will fight man, beast, devil, or God, no matter who it is. So many people have lost that fighting spirit. So much soy, so much political correctness in science fiction YouTube. Both the woke, violence bad, man bad, both religion. Place the other cheek, place the other cheek. Oh, killing bad in science fiction. Killing in science fiction very bad. Place the other cheek. That's how a certain science fiction empire that we all used to belong to, called Tartaria, fell because of that indoctrination in science fiction. He said Conan fights on instinct, by the way, because sometimes he blurs his words, but okay. Like,
And when those women feel those tree trunk firm arms around their waist, they melt like butter on a hot skillet.
if you take a look at many of the women in science fiction that are in their 30s and 40s that end up with the most NPC boyfriend, husband, and they don't have that thrill of someone aggressively taking you, like taking them in his arms and doing all sorts of pleasant things. They are so unhappy. They will never be satisfied. They're always looking for that. That's why you see these videos, like I said, women in their 30s, 40s. Oh, feminism lied to me. Why? I was supposed to be the boss woman, the girl boss, but I feel this need to be taken and protected. Why? Because that's nature, that's human nature, okay? That's human nature. We men like to take things, we like to carve things, we like to shape things. We are the shapers, the takers, we enjoy that so much. We enjoy that so much. And women enjoy being treasured, being taken by the one they love. What a fucking clown world, right? What a fucking clown world. But yes, that pretty much sums it up. I hope you enjoyed this little live stream. YouTube, do not demonetize this. YouTube, this is all science fiction, and I was just giving my opinion on that small fragment of the movie, A Whole Wide World. YouTube, do not dare demonetize this video. So that's why I rely so much on your donations because YouTube will never make my channel like real popular. And like I said, I never support myself. I never rely on particular demographics factions. I'm not religious. I don't belong to any political party. I'm not from the right. I'm not from the left. I don't belong to any of those fucking groups. I am human. The path I walk alone. Do you hear that, Robert? Wherever you are, if you exist somewhere, that's how you walk alone. Not saying that you walk alone and you get attached to your mother and you dismiss the beautiful women that go after you. Let's say, Roger speaks. Just my opinion, but there are three kinds of strength: physical, mental, and emotional. The interpretation is individual. And that's interesting, right? Because you could say there is a spiritual strength, but I wonder if you could fit this spiritual strength into mental or emotional. Would spiritual strength be, it will be more emotional, right? Because when you feel something, like they said, you feel it in your spirit. Emotional strength could be considered spiritual strength. Like your spirits are up when you are enthusiastic, when you are hungry for life. You have high spirits. That is it. Yes, Josh. Roger, Josh, I think we made a good connection. The spiritual and the emotional are the same thing. Emotions are within the realm of the spirit. Mhm. You could say that there is a sickness of the spiritual, of the spirit in current times. Mhm, mhm, mhm. But yeah, like I said, that way I'm always thankful for you guys because the monetization is like not like the for Roger. Spiritual strength is both emotional and mental, and yeah, the YouTube never doesn't properly monetize and promote the videos. I rely only on the free thinkers. But thank you again. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Vic. And thanks to everyone else who is watching the live stream and who will watch this live stream later on when it's shown as a video in my channel. This was a great exposition. It's always entertaining to talk about Robert E. Howard or any of the greats of the past, despite their flaws, and see how other people consider them. And don't forget to leave a like. Let's say Josh speaks. Thank you for the video. Very cool to see this content. I'm glad you liked it. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and thank you so much. Let's say Roger speaks. Roger, much respect and appreciation. Abraham, have a great night. Thank you, Roger. You too. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, consider joining as a member using the super thanks button. Like, subscribe, take a look at the information, the description, the pinned comment. This has been your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. And remember, roleplay solves everything. It's time to assume the role of Conan the Barbarian in current times. We need the strength of Conan. So have a great rest of your evening, day, wherever you are. See you all later.